Okay, so you've sent over some really interesting stuff this time. It looks like you're starting to dip your toes into Hindi.
Yeah.
And you're focusing on those really basic personal questions, like the kind you use when you first meet someone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what's really great about these first few phrases is that they unlock basic communication really quickly.
Right.
You know, you're not getting bogged down in complicated grammar right at the beginning. It's really about getting you speaking and understanding right off the bat.
That's great. And I think that's what we really want to do in this deep dive.
Here.
We want to take these essential phrases,
Yeah.
like how to find out someone's name, where they're from, what they do, their age, if they speak Hindi. And we want to really explore them in a way that you come away feeling confident and ready to use them, but not overwhelmed.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, let's dive right in. Let's start with the absolute basics.
Okay.
How do you ask someone, what is your name in Hindi?
So the polite way to ask that, and politeness is super important when meeting someone new. The polite way to ask, what is your name? In Hindi is, Aapka naam kya hai?
Aapka naam kya hai?
Exactly.
And that's spelled Aapki, naam kya hai?
Yeah.
Okay. And written in Devanagari script as Gedi. I didn't get it.
You mentioned the polite form. Why is using Aapka so important when you're first, meeting someone? So Aapka is like the formal, respectful way of saying your in Hindi.
Yeah.
There is another way, tumhara, which is much more informal. But I would say stick to Aapka when you are first meeting someone. It sets a really respectful tone. And that's really valued in Hindi culture, in Indian culture. It's really a good way to start off on the right foot.
That makes total sense. Start with respect. Now, after you've introduced yourselves, I think the next natural things is find out about someone's background.
Yeah.
So how do you ask, where are you from in Hindi?
So where are you from in Hindi is Aap kahaan se hain.
Okay.
Aap kahaan se.
So that's Kahaan se hain. And in Devanagari, that would be ho, kor, koror.
Perfect.
Now, I noticed that kahan, that directly translates to where, right?
That's right. Kahaan means where. And then that hain part, that means from. And again, like with Aapka, the hain ending adds that little bit of politeness and respect. So it's kind of like you're saying, from where are you? But in a really polite way.
Oh, I see. Okay, so we've got what is your name and where are you from? What if you want to find out what someone does, their job or just what they do in general?
Yeah. So the phrase for what do you do in Hindi is Aapka karte hain.
Aapka karte hain.
Exactly.
So that's spelled Kaio karte hain. And written in Devanagari as karte hain.
That's right.
Now, we saw kia in the first question as well. Is that the general word for what in Hindi?
Yeah, kya just means what. It's a very versatile word. And then karte hain is the polite way of saying to do. So it can apply to someone's profession, or it could just mean what they do generally in their daily life.
Got it. Okay, we're building up a pretty good set of phrases here already. How about asking someone their age?
Okay, to ask, how old are you? You would say, Aapki umr kya hai?
Yeah.
Aapki umr kya hai? Written as Harahum Kurum Koram.
Yes.
So Aapki umra literally means your age.
Yes, exactly.
And then we've got the kia for what again. And hai is kind of like is.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm noticing that in Hindi, it seems like the sentence structure often puts the what at the end of the question.
That's a very good observation. Yeah, the sentence structure in Hindi often follows a subject, object, verb order.
Subject, object, verb.
Yeah. So in the case of Aapki umr kya hai, Aapki umr, meaning your age, that's the subject.
Right.
And then hai, meaning is, that comes at the end.
Okay.
And kia, which is what, acts as that question word.
And recognizing this structure can be really helpful as you learn more and more Hindi.
That's a great point. Okay, and maybe one last question.
Okay.
That's essential for basic communication.
Yeah.
Do you speak Hindi? How would you ask that?
Do you speak Hindi? Is ka Hindi bolte?
Kam Hindi bolte?
Yes.
Ki ab Hindi bolte? And written as Ganti bolte.
You got it.
So we see op again. Hindi is pretty straightforward. What about bolte hain?
Yeah, so bolte hain is the polite way to say to speak.
Okay.
And notice how we put that kai right at the beginning of the sentence. In Hindi, putting kia at the start is a really common way to make a statement into a question. It's kind of like when we add is it or do in English.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we know how to ask all these key questions. But of course, we need to know how to answer them.
Right.
Let's start with how to respond when someone asks you, what is your name?
So to answer, what is your name, you would say, Mera name, your name, hi.
Mera naam, your name, hi.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's spelled M-E-R-A,
Yeah.
naam, your name, hi.
Yeah.
And written in Devanagari as hi. Hi, your name here.
Perfect.
Mera naam very literally translates to my name, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
It seems like Mera is kind of like the opposite of Aapka.
Exactly. Just like my and your in English.
All right.
Mera means my. It's that first person possessive pronoun corresponding to Aapka, which is that polite second person possessive pronoun.
Oh, that makes sense. And how about when someone asks, where are you from? How do you typically answer?
So to answer where are you from, you would say main country city Sahun.
Main country city, Sehun.
Yeah.
M-A-I-N country city, Sehun. And that's written as Tana country city, Sehun.
That's it.
Now, we learned earlier that se means from. What about hun? What does hun mean in this context?
So hun is like the first person singular form of to be. So it translates to am when main, which means I is the subject. So main jas hun literally means I am from.
Oh, I see. Okay. Now, for answering what do you do, our source material gives us a couple of options.
Yes.
Can you walk us through those?
Sure. If you're a student, you could say main ek chatro.
Main ek chatro.
Right.
Okay.
Chatra means student, and ek just means a. So it's quite literally, I am a student.
Got it.
If you work, there's another common way to answer. Main field, main kam, karta karti hun.
Main field, main kam, karta karti hun.
Yeah.
Ka em karta karti hun.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be heta tui.
That's right.
Now, that karta karti ending, that's interesting. What's going on there?
So this is where Hindi gets really interesting because it brings in grammatical gender into its verb forms.
Oh.
So karta is the form you use if you're male, so it means I work.
Okay.
And karti is the form you use if you are female, which also means I work. And the field main part, that just means in field.
Okay.
So a male engineer would say, for instance, main engineering min kam kartam.
Okay.
And a female engineer would say, main engineering min kam kartanun.
That's a really important distinction for our listener to know.
Definitely.
So make sure you're using the right form based on, if you identify as male or female.
Yeah.
How do you answer the question, how old are you?
To answer, how old are you?
Yeah.
You would say, Mary Umar Aj Sal Hai.
Mary Umar Age Sal.
Yeah.
M-E-R, Amar Age Sal, A, or in Devanagari, Ejta, age etcha count.
Exactly.
Now, we learned that Aapki umr means your age, so Mary must mean my age, right?
That's right. It's the same structure, just changing the possessive pronoun.
Okay. And what does Sal mean?
Sal means years.
Years. Okay. So Mary Umar age Sal Hai literally means my age is age years.
Exactly.
All right, we're getting there.
Yeah, almost done.
Finally, how would you answer the question, do you speak Hindi?
A really common and polite way to answer, especially if you're just starting out learning Hindi, is Han. Main thodi Hindi bolta bolti hun.
Han. Main thodi Hindi bolta bolti hun.
Yeah.
Okay. H-A-A-N. Main T-H-O-D-I Hindi bolta bolti hun.
Right.
And in Devanagari, that's Hanta ha boltu. El bigo.
You got it. Han is pretty straightforward. I'm guessing that means yes.
Yeah, Han means yes.
What about thodi?
Thodi means a little.
A little. Okay.
And then again, we have those gendered verb forms, bolta for male speakers, meaning I speak, and bolti for female speakers, also meaning I speak.
Okay.
So a male learner would say, Han main thodi Hindi bolti hun.
Right.
And a female learner would say, Han main thodi Hindi bolti hun.
Okay, so we've now given you the questions,
Mhm.
and we've given you the answers. But how does this all sound when it's put together in an actual interaction?
Right.
Now, our source material has a nice little example dialogue.
It does.
It's very simple, but I think it's really helpful. Absolutely.
So it starts with person A saying, Namaste. Aapka naam kya hai?
Yeah.
Now, Namaste, that's a very common and respectful greeting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like saying hello.
Okay.
And as we learned, Aapka naam kya hai means, what is your name?
Right. So person B replies, Mera naam John hai, or Aapka.
Yeah.
So they're saying, my name is John, and yours.
Right.
It's interesting how they keep using that polite Aapka even when they're asking the question back.
Yes.
It maintains that respectful tone throughout.
Absolutely. And, maintaining that level of politeness, especially when you're first interacting with someone, is just considered good etiquette.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes
Okay.
sense. So then person A says, Mera naam Priya hai. Aap kahaan se?
Right.
Which means, my name is Priya, where are you from?
Yeah, exactly.
And person B answers, Main America, Sehon.
Right.
I'm from America. And you,
Mm.
again, keeping the conversation flowing by asking the question back.
Yeah, keeping it nice and even.
And then finally, person A ends by saying, Main Farat Sehon.
Right.
I'm from India. It's a very short exchange, but it shows how those basic questions and answers can get a conversation going. And you learn a little bit about someone.
Yeah. And it's a very natural flow, right? I mean, you're introducing yourself, you're finding out their name, where they're from. It's very, very basic.
Absolutely. And seeing it put together like that really helps those individual phrases stick, I think.
It makes it real. You can actually imagine yourself having that conversation.
Right, exactly. So for our listener who's taking all of this in, what are the key things to remember from this deep dive into basic Hindi personal questions?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's important to remember that these are really foundational phrases.
Okay.
Like, if your goal is to be able to have even simple conversations in Hindi, mastering how to ask and answer these questions, that's the essential first step.
Yeah.
Like the groundwork for everything else.
The second thing, I think,
Yeah.
which we've touched on several times, but it's so important,
Right.
is that politeness is huge. Using words like Aapka and those polite verb endings, it really shows respect. And that's the best way to start any conversation.
Absolutely. And I think also, we've kept the grammar explanations fairly straightforward here.
Right.
But being aware of those gendered verb endings, the karte and bolte,
Yeah.
that's a really important part of speaking Hindi correctly. So don't stress about getting it perfect right away.
Right.
But understanding that they exist and trying to use them accurately, it's really going to improve your communication.
Absolutely. And finally, what's the final takeaway for our listener? What's the one thing that they should really remember?
I think the most encouraging thing is that even knowing just these few phrases, it can be incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Like, it's a starting point for connecting with people, showing genuine interest in others, and you can start to build relationships with Hindi speakers. So it might seem like a small step,
Yeah.
but it really can open up a whole new world of communication.
I love that. This has been so helpful. I feel like we've really explored these essential building blocks. So thinking about these basic ways to introduce yourself and ask about someone else, what other kinds of questions do you think might naturally come next in a conversation? When you're first meeting someone, or how might having even this basic Hindi vocabulary make a difference if you were traveling in a Hindi-speaking region?
Yeah, that's a great question.
This is really just the beginning of understanding how conversations work in Hindi. There's so much more to explore.